Everything in this world got layers to it. What you see on the surface ain't always the truth. It's just what they want you to believe. That's the illusion. Most people never see past it because they get caught up in the picture that's painted for them. See, women mastered that art of illusion. They don't always move loud. They move smooth in silence with intention. They understand energy. They understand how to shift a man's direction without even saying a word. That's power, not manipulation. It's awareness. But if you don't recognize it, you'll end up chasing the shadow instead of the source. The truth is, everything they do is calculated around perception. How they look, how they speak, how they react. It's all designed. Not fake, but strategic. They know emotion can move mountains faster than logic ever could. So they don't fight with force, they guide with influence. You think you're leading, but half the time you just following the vibe they set. That's the illusion right there, the game within the game. They'll never tell you how much power you give away by reacting, because when you react, you lose clarity. You start playing on their field by their rules. The one who controls the rhythm controls the outcome, and women understand rhythm better than anything. That's why they move like water, calm, but capable of drowning you if you sleep. You got to start seeing things through awareness, not emotion. A lot of men get lost because they start worship beauty and forget to recognize energy. You can't get fooled by what looks good. You got to read what feels off. Every smile ain't pure, every connection ain't real, and every compliment ain't admiration. Some of it's testing your foundation. They test to see if you're grounded or if your ego can be pulled. Once they know where the cracks are, they decide how to move. The real power lies in not reacting to the illusion. You gotta move with truth, because truth don't chase, it attracts. When you grounded in purpose, you see through the fog. You start understanding that half the game they play only works on men who don't know themselves. You can't blame them for using their tools. That's survival. They evolved to adapt, to secure, to protect their position. It's not evil, it's nature. The problem is when men step into the game blind, expecting honesty in a world built on performance. You ever notice how silence speaks louder than words when you really tune in? That's because real awareness don't need explanation. When you grounded, you don't fall for the illusion because you can feel when energy shifts. You see the motives without confrontation. You let actions expose truth. That's real power. Not fighting the game, but mastering your own role in it. See, power don't come from controlling others. It comes from controlling yourself. Once you understand that, the illusions fade. You stop getting played by fake love, fake loyalty, fake validation. You start recognizing what's real: peace, consistency, alignment. That's the freedom they don't want you to have. Because once a man sees through the illusion, he becomes untouchable. You can't hate the game, you just gotta evolve in it. They learn how to use their influence. You gotta learn how to use your purpose. Their illusion only works when you forget your value. You were never supposed to chase approval. You were supposed to build vision. And once you focus on that, they either align with your truth or fade from your frequency. The power of illusion is strong, but the power of awareness is stronger. Once you stop trying to decode their mystery and start mastering your own energy, everything changes. You stop being reactive. You start being selective. You don't get impressed by what's shown. You get interested in what's consistent. Remember, everything that shines ain't gold. Some of it's just a reflection of your own light bouncing back at you. So before you get lost trying to figure out what women don't want you to know, start by understanding what you keep forgetting about yourself. Once you own your truth, their illusion loses its hold. And that's when you step into real power, the kind that don't need validation, permission, or control. It just is. That's how you break the illusion, by being everything they can't manipulate, focus, grounded, and aware. Emotions got power most people can't even comprehend. They move faster than logic, louder than words, and deeper than anything physical. That's why people use them like currency. And when it comes to women, they understand emotional leverage on a level most men don't even recognize. They know how to shift a man's energy without ever raising their voice. They know when to pull back, when to lean in, when to make silence feel louder than any argument. That's emotional leverage. It ain't always manipulation. It's mastery. See, emotions are like levers. You pull one and something moves. You push another and everything changes direction. Most men think strength means not feeling, but that's not true strength. Real strength is control, knowing when to move, when to fall back, and when to hold your ground, even when your feelings start spinning. That's where most get caught lacking. They don't see how their emotions being played until it's too late. You ever notice how A woman will never fight you where you're strong. She'll pull you into where you're weak, your emotions. She'll test your patience, your ego, your self-control, because she knows if she can get you emotional, she got you predictable. Once you're emotional, your logic fades, your awareness dims, and you start reacting instead of leading. That's how leverage works. It's not about control, it's about position. The one who moves calmer, slower, and more intentional always ends up in power. They say women are emotional. Now women are emotionally intelligent. They study tone, silence, energy. They can sense when your words don't match your spirit. They know how to use a pause to make you chase clarity. That's leverage. They can make you question yourself without ever saying you wrong. They can make you chase peace they control. And when you don't understand what's happening, you confuse peace with dependency. You start needing validation just to feel stable again. But this ain't about blaming them, it's about understanding the game. The truth is, emotions are the battlefield of connection. Whoever can stay centered in chaos wins every time. You gotta learn how to breathe through the noise, how to respond without reacting. Because when you move from emotion, you make decisions that cost your peace. And when you lose your peace, you lose your power. A man's energy is supposed to stabilize the environment, not match the storm. That's where you separate the grounded from the lost. You can't fight emotion with emotion, you fight it with understanding. When you stop taking everything personal, you start seeing patterns. When you stop chasing validation, you start recognizing manipulation. Every test ain't disrespect. Sometimes it's just a mirror showing you how solid you really are. You can't lead if your emotions lead you. You can't claim control when your reactions expose your weakness. The real ones move from awareness, not impulse. They don't let someone else decide how they feel. That's emotional discipline, and it's one of the rarest forms of power you can have. See, women mastered emotional leverage because the world taught them they couldn't always use strength. So they learned to use energy. They learned how to protect themselves with perception, how to survive through influence. You can't hate that. You just got to respect it and move accordingly. But if you're blind to that power, you'll get played by it every time. The key is to stop fighting for control and start building understanding. Don't get triggered, get tuned. Watch how people move, not just what they say. Learn when energy shifts, when silence speaks, when emotion tries to pull you off center, because every time you stay calm, you take back control of the moment. Emotional leverage only works when you hand over your reactions. Once you master your emotions, you take away their weapon. You stop being predictable, you stop being pulled, you stop being drained. That's when people start respecting your energy instead of trying to manipulate it. Emotions ain't your enemy. They your compass. They tell you what needs healing, what needs distance, what needs truth. But when you ignore that, they become your downfall. Control your emotions and you control your environment. Lose control and the world controls you. So when someone tries to move you with emotion, don't respond right away. Feel it, study it, then move with clarity. Let your silence say what your reaction used to it. That's how you turn emotional leverage back in your favor, by mastering peace. Because in a world where everybody chasing reaction, the calmest one always wins. The one who can stand in fire and still think straight, that's the real power. That's when no emotional gain can touch you, no manipulation can reach you, and no illusion can shake you. You become the balance, you become the leverage, value. That's the foundation, everything moves on. The problem is, most people don't even understand what value really means. They think it's money, looks, status, attention, but that's surface level. Real value ain't loud, it's consistent. It's built in silence, proven through energy and measured by how much you bring to the table when nobody's watching. That's why most men lose themselves, they forget the value dynamic. They start chasing validation instead of building worth. See, a man's value comes from purpose, from his ability to build, to lead, to create something out of nothing. It's his discipline, his consistency, his focus that make him valuable. That's what women respond to. Not the talk, not the potential, but the presence. A man grounded in his purpose moves different. He don't beg for attention because his mission already gives him identity. He don't chase love because he knows alignment will bring it naturally. A woman's value moves different. It's tied to her energy, her peace, her ability to nurture and inspire. When both understand their positions, the balance is pure. But when one forgets their value, the the whole dynamic gets off balance. That's what's happening now. Too many men letting emotions define them. Too many women using validation to feel powerful. Everybody performing instead of being real. When a man forgets who he is, he starts serving emotion instead of vision. He starts building his life around approval instead of purpose. That's when he becomes replaceable, not because women don't value him, but because he stopped valuing himself. You can't leave from a place of lack. You can't demand respect when you don't respect your own time, your own peace, your own growth. Value don't come from how people treat you. It comes from what you demand from yourself. You gotta build your value in silence. Every rep, every late night, every sacrifice adds a layer to your worth. When you carry yourself like you know your value, the world aligns differently. You stop chasing opportunities, opportunities start chasing you. You stop begging for loyalty, loyalty becomes attracted to your energy. And see, value is fragile when built on ego. Real value gotta be internal, not situational. You can lose money, fame, followers, but if your value lives inside your character, you'll rebuild it every time. That's why purpose is non-negotiable. It's the anchor that keeps your energy from drifting. Because without purpose, everything external becomes your God. Love, attention, validation, comfort. That's when the world starts controlling you instead of you controlling your world. You gotta understand, women can sense a man's energy before he even speaks. They can feel if your purpose is solid or if you're faking confidence. You can't hide uncertainty. It leaks through your tone, your posture, your silence. When your value is built on truth, you don't need to perform. You just exist in power. And that power commands respect without asking for it. The ones who win long term ain't the loudest. They're the most focused. They understand that value ain't about proving something. It's about protecting something, protecting your time, your energy, your peace. That's what keeps your value intact. You can't keep giving your energy to people who don't feed your growth and then complain about being drained. Protect your energy like currency because that's your real wealth. Yeah, for the women too, value ain't in attention, it's in authenticity. The peace you bring is your power. The ability to inspire a man without draining him, to stand beside him without competing, that's real value. But that kind of balance only exists when both people understand their worth. At the end of the day, value dynamics come down to self-awareness. You either build your value through purpose or you lose it through distraction. You either walk in alignment or you wander through validation. The world gonna test your worth daily. People will overlook you, doubt you, play you, but that's part of the process. Every rejection refines your value if you keep building. Every loss adds depth to your purpose if you stay disciplined. So never let the world define your worth. Never let attention make you feel important or absence make you feel small. Your value was written before the world even saw you. Your job is to develop it, protect it, and let it shine through consistency. When you move with purpose, everything else aligns. When you stand in truth, no illusion can shake you. When you know your value, you stop negotiating it. That's when you step into real power. The kind that don't need validation. It commands respect just by existing. Because when value meets awareness, the whole dynamic shifts, and nothing can move you off your path again. Life won't always show you who you are, even when you don't want to see. The world got a way of putting mirrors in front of you. People, situations, pain, all reflections meant to expose what's inside. That's what I call the mirror game. And women, they play that game without even knowing it sometimes. They reflect back your strengths, your insecurities, your discipline, your distractions. You might think you're looking at them, but you're really looking at yourself through how you move around them. Every connection you make is a mirror. Some people come in your life to show you your light. Some come to expose your shadow. The ones that trigger you the most usually hold the biggest lessons. But most folks run from those reflections. They'd rather blame the other person than face what's being shown. That's why the same cycles keep repeating, same energy, different faces. Because until you change within, your reflections stay the same. A woman can't break a man who knows himself. She can only reflect the cracks he already ignoring. If you insecure, she gonna bring that out. If you unsure, she gonna make you question yourself even more. But if you solid, if you centered in who you are, she gonna amplify that too. That's the beauty and danger of the mirror game. It can build you or expose you, depending on how real you are with yourself. You ever notice how certain people bring out different sides of you? Around one, you feel peaceful. Around another, you feel defensive. That ain't random. That's energy mirroring your inner state. Life don't send reflections by accident. Every connection is feedback. You either take it as a lesson or keep fighting it like it's the problem. See, women master reflection. They don't always move with words, they move with energy. They can reflect your confidence, your fears, your discipline, your lack of it. When you're dealing with someone emotionally sharp, you can't fake energy. They feel everything you hide. You might say you focus, but she feel your doubt. You might act unbothered, but she sense your confusion. That's why self-awareness matters. Because if you don't know yourself, the mirror gonna play you every time. Most men lose the mirror game because they're trying to control the reflection instead of fixing the image. You can't make the mirror show something different. You gotta change what's standing in front of it. You gotta face the parts of yourself you keep running from. Your pride, your fear of loss, your ego, your emotional immaturity. Once you deal with that, the mirror starts showing peace instead of chaos. The mirror game don't stop when you figure it out. It just evolves. The more you grow, the clearer your reflections get. You start attracting people who reflect peace instead of pain. But you gotta go through the storm to earn that clarity. You can't skip the reflection stage and expect alignment. Growth don't happen in comfort. It happens when you face your reflection and decide to change what you see. You ever met somebody who triggered you so bad, but deep down you knew it was because they showed you something about yourself? That's the test. The mirror don't lie, but it can hurt. It exposes your flaws without apology. But if you're strong enough to study it, instead of breaking it, you evolve, you level up. You stop taking things personal because you realize everybody you meet is just reflecting something you need to learn. That's how self-mastery begins. When you stop trying to fix people and start using them as reflections to fix yourself. You don't chase validation, you chase understanding. You stop asking why they act like that and start asking, why does that affect me like this? That shift changes everything. That's when you move from emotional reaction to spiritual awareness. The mirror game ain't about control, it's about awareness. You can't win by outsmarting. You win by being honest with yourself. Because when you're real with you, nobody can weaponize your flaws. When you know your darkness, you stop being afraid of someone pointing it out. That's true freedom. That's true power. And when you reach that point, relationships start feeling different. You don't chase attention, you recognize energy. You don't fall for potential, you value consistency. You don't get triggered by reflection, you study it. You move like someone who knows the mirror don't control you. You control what it reflects. That's how the mirror game works. You either stay blind to what it's showing or you use it to evolve. Every argument, every heartbreak, every disappointment, all of it is reflection. Once you understand that, nobody can break your peace again. You stop blaming, you start building, you stop running, you start growing, and that's when you realize the mirror was never your enemy. It was your teacher the whole time. Awareness ain't something you learn overnight, something you earn through pain, silence, and time spent with yourself. Most people talk about being woke, but real awareness don't need a title. It shows in how you move, how you react, and what you choose not to entertain. Awareness is the difference between living with purpose and just existing. It's when you stop seeing life from the surface and start feeling the truth behind everything that happens. The hardest part about awareness is that once you see, you can't unsee. You can't go back to fake conversations, weak energy, or temporary people. You start noticing what's real and what's performance. You feel energy before it's spoken. You see intention behind every action. That's why awareness can be lonely, because when you stop moving with clarity, confusion can't stay around you. You stop trying to fix people and stop focusing on protecting your peace. Most people don't fear loss, they fear truth. Because truth exposes everything. It shows who's really solid and who's just pretending. It shows who loves you for real and who only loves what you provide. Awareness makes you uncomfortable because it destroys illusions. But that discomfort is growth. That's your spirit leveling up. See, real awareness comes when you stop reacting and start observing. When you stop letting emotions make your decision. You start noticing patterns, how energy repeats itself until you learn a lesson. That's when you realize life ain't happening to you, it's responding to you. Every situation, every person, every test is feedback from the universe. You either pay attention or stay stuck. A lot of people can talk, but very few can see. Awareness is sight beyond sight. You catch the small details. The way someone avoids accountability, the way energy shifts when success comes around, the silence that speaks when someone's heart changes. That's awareness, when you see truth without needing proof. You can't teach awareness, you can only experience it. It comes from failure, from being played, from losing people you thought were forever. Every betrayal sharpens your perception. Every loss refines your spirit. Eventually, you stop asking why me and start saying thank you, because the truth sets you free, even when it hurts. Real awareness makes you dangerous, not because you hurt people, but because you can't be fooled. You move different. You stop chasing validation. You start respecting energy. You stop over-explaining. You let silence speak. You don't need to prove your worth. You are your worth. When you become aware, your presence changes rooms before your words do. But awareness ain't about being cold or detached. It's about balance. You can see the truth without hating the world. You can forgive without forgetting. You can love without losing yourself. Real awareness gives you peace in chaos because you understand everything has purpose, even pain. You stop fighting what's meant to teach you and start flowing with it. That's what it means to evolve. When you're aware, you don't fall for energy that doesn't match yours. You recognize when something feels off. You don't chase closure because you understand silence is closure. You don't argue with lies because truth don't need defense. You protect your energy like it's sacred because it is. Once you understand how energy moves, you realize peace is priceless. Awareness separates you from the noise. It gives you clarity on who deserves access and who don't. Not everyone deserves to stand next to peace you work for. Some people only come to drain what they can't create, but when you're aware, you spot that early. You start saying no without guilt. You start walking away without explanation. You start valuing solitude more than fake connection. It's crazy because when you really wake up to life, you realize you was never in competition with anybody but your old self. You stop chasing what don't align with your purpose. You stop comparing your timing to someone else's journey. You learn that peace hits different when you ain't forcing nothing. That's real awareness. When you stop chasing the world and start mastering yourself. When you stop looking outward for validation and start looking inward for direction. When you understand that stillness is power and silence is strength. You don't need to announce what you're doing. The results speak. You move with grace, you protect your vision, and you stay 10 toes down on your purpose. And once you reach that level, nobody can shake you. Not fake love, not betrayal, not loss, because you understand everything temporary except growth. You start living in flow, not resistance. You stop trying to control the outcome and start trusting your alignment. That's when you become untouchable, not because life stops testing you, but because you move with real awareness.